Okay, well, it is 8 o'clock, so I think I'm going to start this. I hope everybody is here. Hi, everyone. I'm Shula Newman. I'm the executive editor at St. Louis Public Radio. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us this morning for this second Innovation Insiders event. I want to give a special thanks to members of St. Louis Public Radio, our more than 25,000 donors, many of you are among them, contributed nearly $5.5 million last year, allowing us to bring you award-winning local news, podcasts, and events like this. And believe me, we weren't planning on doing this event in this virtual space, but like everything else in these unprecedented times, we've had to adapt. The St. Louis Public Radio newsroom has especially had to adapt. And I want to take a moment to brag a little bit about some of the amazing work our reporters and producers have done, despite not having access to the technology and being able to interview people in person. Since we left the station in March, we've hosted a town hall focused on healthcare, and just last night, we co-hosted a debate for the Democratic candidates for St. Louis County Executive. We co-hosted that along with Channel 9 and 5 on Your Side. Our reporters and our daily talk show, St. Louis on the Air, have been covering protests, racial issues, the impact of the coronavirus on everything, gun violence, airport privatization, and an upcoming election, just to name a few. They've been working so hard under very stressful circumstances, and I am incredibly proud of the work they've done. And that goes also for today. And we have Corinne Ruff in conversation with Carolyn Kindle Betz. And I am also incredibly proud of Corinne. She's our economic development reporter. She joined us a little more than a year ago after working in Washington, D.C. She grew up among the cornfields in Northern Illinois and earned her degrees in journalism and French at the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. She does have a bias against Provel cheese, I will give her that, but she's a very, very accomplished and has done amazing work for us. Her work has appeared in a variety of publications, including Retail Dive, the Chronicle of Higher Education, U.S. News and World Report, CU Citizen Access, and the News Gazette. While she was in DC, she founded the business podcast Conversational Commerce and co-hosted a weekly show on the public radio station WPFW about the intersection of higher education and social justice. She joined us about a year ago and has been doing amazing work, including today. So I just thank you all. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and please come back for our next Innovation Insider in a few months.
Well, thank you so much, Sheila, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you unfamiliar with Carolyn Kindle Betz, she is the CEO of MLS for the Lou. She led the majority female ownership group throughout the bid process to finally bring a Major League Soccer team to St. Louis in August. And as CEO, Carolyn oversees all of the business aspects of this new MLS team. But she also maintains her current role as president of Enterprise Holdings Foundation, which is the charitable arm of Enterprise Holdings. But today, we're going to be talking about how local business leaders, including Carolyn, landed this MLS team and what's next in St. Louis. So please drop your questions in the chat throughout our conversation, and we'll try to get to as many as we can toward the end of the program. So Carolyn, I kind of want to start at the beginning of where this all came up for you. Where did you first hear about this idea of bringing an MLS team to St. Louis, and why was this something that you really wanted to be a part of?
Sure. Well, first of all, good morning, and thank you for having me. It's really interesting. My family, obviously loves the city of St. Louis, and it's been great both, professionally and personally. We were just wrapping up the renovations at the Arch Grounds, and so it was sort of, what's the next big thing the family can do for the city? And so when we started kind of asking around a little bit, everybody was like, we need a professional soccer team. We need a professional soccer team. And having a family that's never played soccer, it was sort of a little daunting. Oh, okay. So we sort of, started doing our research, and we found that, yes, there was indeed a very big appetite for a professional soccer team. So it's hard to believe that just over 2 years ago, we called up Jim Kavanaugh and we said, okay, we're going to do this. And so I think really at the end of the day, it's just the passion that our family has for the city, and we want to make St. Louis an international world-class city.
And how about for you personally? Why was this a project that you decided, to split your time pretty significantly between these two ventures, if this is something you wanted to lead?
So it's an interesting question because I don't think if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have thought I would have been here. I think I was in the beginning, and so as I, I kind of had started from the beginning and watched the process evolve. And it probably wasn't until about 6 to 9 months into this project I realized this is a big project, and I think I liked the challenge of it. I mean, first of all, I love philanthropy, I love operations at enterprise, but very rarely do you get an opportunity to be CEO of a startup professional sports team. And I think I was at the point in my life where I was ready for the challenge. I think I was mature enough to take the challenge. So it was more of an evolution of I really think I should do this as opposed to I'm going to do this. But I really looking back over the last year and a half, I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, it sounds like you're sort of getting your footing now officially as CEO, but I wonder how you're adjusting, right? You've been in the business in the philanthropy community for a long time now, but how is it going from the car rental industry to sports entertainment?
Yes, I think the good news is they're very distinct. So you kind of have to put on your sports hat. You kind of have to put on, your car rental foundation hat. I think the first and foremost, I am so blessed with the teams I have around me at both jobs. There's no way I could do this if I didn't have the people that I have. They're professional, they're smart, they're intelligent, they teach me something new every day. And so being able to balance both of these really has nothing to do with me, but really the fact that I have such a great team. Sports is a very different world, but at the end of the day, it's still a business. And so having the business background that I had at Enterprise, I just celebrated my 22nd year anniversary at Enterprise, I think has helped me make the transition, because while I'm passionate about sports, I'm more passionate about the business side of MLS for the Loop.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I think about this MLS team, I think about, there were previous unsuccessful attempts to bring a Major League Soccer team to St. Louis. And I wonder what you think is unique about the way that the business community came together in this effort to really make it click. Why did it work this time?
Well, I think we have to thank the people that went before us, because we learned a lot. And a lot of it came down to the 100% local ownership was huge. Certainly the majority female ownership was huge. I think not asking the city for a bunch of funding help was huge. And I think as we started to tell the story, I think people did really realize that this was bigger than just a sport. It was about revitalization of downtown West. It was going to be, not only soccer, but hopefully festivals, and develop a district that can be accessible, hopefully a lot more than just game days. And so I think that this one really, we garnered the support we did because it was much bigger than just, let's go get a professional soccer team.
Yeah. And I wonder, because of that, if there are elements of the way that this panned out, the way that this came together, if there are lessons that you think other people in economic development and business could take away from this as they pursue other projects in St. Louis.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you have to get the buy-in from the St. Louis community. And I think that it's very important to make sure that you socialize your ideas. I think how they tell the story is huge. So kind of going back to, we wanted to be a good neighbor, both on and off the pitch. This was a community event. And while soccer is a major part of it, we wanted a great district. And so I think when you think about how you're going to bring people from the region together, certainly there'll be job opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities, but you have to sell it as what you're doing is bigger than what you're actually doing. And I think the all encompassing of the region and bringing, different cultures, different people, different thought process together is key.
Do you think that this is a model that could work for other projects, outside of sports entertainment, outside of maybe entertainment in general? Like, is this something you think should be replicated?
I absolutely do. Because and what I've learned over the last 2 years is that St. Louis has an incredible culture, whether it's food, entertainment. And so I think anything that somebody like MLS for the Lou wants to do and really turn it into something that showcases the incredible, call it, special finds or treasures we have in the city, I think it would be fantastic. Probably not one and the same, but look at the International Festival. I mean, the attendance at that is crazy. And so I think if you have more things like the festivals or the district that really bring people out of their committees or communities and showcase what they have, I think it'll put St. Louis not only on the map just regionally, but nationally as well.
Do you think that there's this appetite for new types of development, things outside of what we've already sort of seen in the city before?
I do. It's sort of funny because I'm not good at this kind of stuff, but things that have fascinated me are these massive flea markets, that are actually, I mean, they call them a flea market. Some of them are just beautiful. Where great gathering, public gathering space is a little hard right now in COVID-19 to say that, but I think anybody that can think outside of the non-traditional, exactly what you're saying, entertainment spaces is incredible. And I think, being on the cutting edge of that, where once again, St. Louis is on the map for, look at what they did, unlike anybody else, I think is fantastic and would have my full support for sure.
So you mentioned that part of this project was also the revitalization of downtown West, and we're seeing a ton of development there right now. The aquarium opened, the Ferris wheel. I wonder why this was the right location for you.
Well, for a couple things. It had a good size footprint. So when we went to show our plans to the commissioner, and as we socialized that with other owners, it became clear we're one of the only clubs in the world that has their stadium and their practice pitches right across the street. So once again, it was a huge selling point as to why St. Louis was definitely ready to have a professional soccer team. I think the other thing is that you have to be in downtown, I believe, for a professional sports team, from the sense that the camaraderie and the collaboration we could do with the Blues and the Cardinals is very important, because rivalries are huge in MLS. Rivalries are huge in hockey and baseball. And to see the overlap in the cities, I think we felt like we could really create a lot of energy and excitement. And in order to do that, we had to be right there.
Yeah, you are so close to both of those other stadiums. I wonder how you're thinking about, how do we convert a hockey fan into a soccer fan if it's a sport that maybe they haven't connected to before?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to do that is to just kind of make sure that we have a lot of events and, cope with each of them, all three teams, if you will. But I think just really being able to get that rivalry going. And by the way, St. Louis supports all of their sports. I mean, I think that that's one of the best things about the St. Louis sports community is they show up. I mean, if you look at some of the numbers that we set for the National Women's Soccer Games, the men's national team, the friendlies, I mean, this town is crazy about soccer. And even if you're not crazy about soccer, you come to support the town. So I think that we'll be able to have a lot of really great events co-sponsored by the teams. And so the hope is that we just continue to build on the excitement and the sports loyalty that's already existing in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of building, I want to ask a little bit about how the construction's going so far. I see that there's a big hole in the ground, so that's at least a good starting place. We have a couple of photos that our drone guy Brent has taken over the last couple of months, so you can sort of see what's changed. So if you are in the chat right now, you can click the link and see some of those pictures over the last couple of months. But Carolyn, can you give us a little bit of an update of how is construction going so far?
Construction is going great. I'm going to knock on wood. On Tuesday, we were 173 days in without an incident. So far, we've maintained a safe and healthy site. Our partners, the construction partners, general contractors have been fantastic in putting in very strict protocol and working with city officials and health officials. So good news, we're healthy. Yes, that is a massive hole. I actually drove down there the other day, and again, you sort of talk about it, look at it on paper, but then when you're actually out there, it's sort of overwhelming. But steel's going in. We've moved a lot of dirt, and I think the one thing we have right now is we found an underground spring that we're not sure what we're going to do with.
Oh, that's a fun twist.
It is, yeah. That's where all that water's coming from. But again, the local partnerships that we have and the local contractors and construction teams, they're just amazing, and they're getting very creative. They're going to have to, but yeah, I mean, as of right now, no unforeseen delays. So we should be completed I'd say middle of summer 2022.
So that was, what you were pretty much aiming for originally, and then of course a global pandemic happened. Have you seen any impact because of the coronavirus?
No, I mean, I think obviously being pushed back a year would be an impact. But as far as the actual construction site, as of right now, no, we're not. I know that we have definitely done our homework. Our construction management team has, certainly looked at, if we need to resource things. So we, again, very fortunate that they're on top of it. Weekly meetings discussing, what is, what our stadium's going to look like in 2022. A lot of it yet to be determined, but it's a question we ask ourselves every week.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. You're in this position where you're early on enough in the process that you could adapt for this new world. And I wonder, as you're thinking about how people's social interactions are dramatically changing right now, and are they going to feel comfortable in a multi-thousand seat stadium? How are you thinking about whether you could alter the design or the build out of the stadium to accommodate for who knows what might be a temporary or a long-term change in the way people want to interact with others?
So we're lucky because we are still in, construction design. So it's not like we actually have a structure. So what we've asked a lot of our partners to do is, we need to follow this. We need to stay on top of it. And then if we have to go back into the design room, we go back into the design room, but one of the things that, it didn't even dawn on me is, what about trash? You're so used to multi-use ketchup, mustard, pickle relish. Well, now all of a sudden, if you go to single use, how do you handle the trash? How do you handle the recycling? But also more importantly, exactly what you said, how are you going to handle food service? Is everything going to come out locked up? So, unfortunately, there's a lot that we don't know, but we are able to position ourselves as we get the information. But, I think at the end of the day for us, whatever the rules are, that's great. We just need to make sure that we integrate it into that fan experience and make it the fan experience that people are expecting and that people want, while still staying safe.
Yeah. You sort of mentioned this a little bit about losing a year or having this extra year delay. That's something that MLS Commissioner Don Garber announced last week, that St. Louis and a couple other new teams will be pushed back a little bit on the timeline because of the pandemic. And I wonder how you're thinking about that extra year.
I mean, honestly, I'm actually really happy about it. I'm very excited about it. Not what you wanted to hear in August of, 2019. However, we worked collectively with MLS, and what it came down to is that, we pretty much had a 4-month hold. And since we didn't know how the year was going to end, and we didn't know what the outcome of the, pandemic was, we watched the collective sports world in general try to figure out what to do. And so, there was, a couple tears in the beginning, but when you're like, wow, you know what, this gives us time to do everything correctly, not hurried, really develop those relationships with corporate sponsors and fans, you almost had a little bit of a sense of relief, like, wow, okay, now we can do this. Like we've talked about, the stadium should be done 6 to 9 months before. It's a great opportunity for us to hold events and sort of break in the stadium, as I like to say it. You've got World Cup pushed to the end of 2022, have watch parties and really make that first match in the inaugural season epic, and hopefully exceed any expectations that fans may or may not have.
Yeah, you sound a little bit relieved. I mean, it's always good to have a little bit of buffer time, because again, you don't know what happens with construction projects, and this is a new endeavor. So it sounds like it's good to have a little bit of extra time, and to rev up fans too.
I mean, one thing too is that it also gives us time to build our team. I mean, eventually we were going to have to go build the team, and so having that extra year allows, once our sporting director's hired, hopefully scour the region, scour the nation, scour the globe to find that great talent. And so that in itself is a huge win for us, because now I feel like we have more time to make better decisions on who and what our club looks like.
How are your decisions going right now, or your recruiting process, when you're just thinking about building out that sports director and the chain of all the players after that? Where are you in the process of looking?
So we obviously took a pause because we weren't sure what was going to happen. But it's been really exciting to start that process back up again. And, we've posted these positions and we're seeing obviously local, back to North American interest, international interest. And so it's so rewarding when you see people from all over the globe that are interested in taking a job in St. Louis, risking, a team that's not established. But hopefully we'll have these key positions. We can start announcing them soon. The sporting director one is definitely important because we need that person here to really kind of help us hone in on what the vision is this on the sporting side. And so that hopefully should be coming soon.
Well, we're certainly excited for a lot of announcements. We're glad you gave us a little bit of nugget earlier this week with the August 13th date of when you'll be finally announcing the name, the colors, the crest. I feel like these really fun, tangible details that we could finally sort of have a little bit more realistic thought of like, what is this team gonna feel and look like? What do you think that signifies for fans, just having that announcement coming soon?
Well, I think one thing is that it's showing we're committed. We are obviously committed to this project. We're here to stay. We're here to make this, again, epic in every sense of the word. But I also think it's a sign of, while it's not business as usual, it's business as best we can. And, we're ready to full steam ahead. Everybody thought I was saying the steamers. I wasn't, just be clear here. But I think it just gives people something to be excited about, something to look forward to, and I think the fact that this is now becoming a reality, and as much as I love MLS for the Lou, I can't wait to say I'm part of an actual team name. And so I think just having that out there means that we are committed, we are doing this, and what we've been saying the last 2 years is starting to come to fruition. And I think it's proof that we are dedicated to this and we are excited and we cannot wait. Now it's 2023, but just to start really, unveiling things, fan engagement, and really build excitement.
Now, I know you can't give us any hints as to what all of these fun details are, but what are you most excited about? If you could speak sort of broadly about those three things, is there something you're really excited about that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just ready to say, for people to say I'm a fan of and have a team name. You see, I have tons of Blues and Cardinals gear. I can't wait for people to have our gear. And I think that is, for me, what's going to be most exciting, is that it's back to exactly what I just said. It's real. It's a real tangible thing. I think I'm also a little bit excited because now I don't have to, dodge. What's the team name? What are the colors? There's a little bit of relief when it's like, it's out there now, So, and I guess I'm just so excited for August 13th. Like we have been working on this for so many months, and to be able to have it out there and to be able to celebrate it, it's so exciting. Like giddy almost. I get giddy thinking about it.
So I know that you've been thinking about these details for a while now. Was part of the calculation and waiting just to have sort of an event that felt kind of epic as you're describing, and holding off to see, how you could make it really fun, even though it was virtual because of, state of our world right now?
Yeah, I mean, pre-March 1st, we had visions of a big party, lots of people, at an iconic St. Louis spot, and then obviously that had to change. I think it was dependent on a couple things. One, like I said, we just didn't know. We didn't know where the sports world was going to go. But number two, I think everybody just kind of sat on edge, just waiting for what's next. And so we wanted to make sure that we were sensitive to the fact that people were balancing working from home, parenting, taking care of parents, any way you look at that. And so it was never calculated. I think it was more just, we'll know when the time is right. And certainly coming on the heels of the MLS is Back tournament, I think just was a huge win for us, especially because the tournament has been so successful. And so I think that was more luck, because I really don't know. I don't think we really thought that much into it. But I mean, the driving factor was just to be sensitive to what was going on in the world we live in. And I think that's why it was delayed as much as it was, but I really think it actually worked out best for us. And so I'm even more excited to announce everything on the 13th.
Yeah. I mean, a pandemic is one of those challenges that no one sees coming when they're building out something new. But even without a pandemic, there's always challenges when you're doing something new, bringing something into a community. And I wonder, whether related to the pandemic or other things, what are some of the challenges that you're still trying to figure out?
I think I wouldn't call them challenges. Almost, I'd look at them as opportunities. I think when you're trying to, as you said, build a stadium, build a district, how are you going to program that district? I think that that's sort of kind of where we're at right now. Is exactly what do we want to do with this beautiful stadium on off game days? I think really too, just engaging with those corporate sponsors again, kind of having to almost restart the conversations, which is exciting. And it's given us an opportunity to sort of kind of reintroduce ourselves, if you will. But I think, you lose 4 months, you kind of have to start a few things over again. But I think, again, going back to, I think it's a really positive thing because a lot's changed in 4 months.
I wonder what you think it is about your team. I know it's a small team right now, but what is it about the makeup of your team that has helped you sort of find the solutions to these things as they come up?
Well, I think this team, for me, it's all about culture. You have to fit into our culture. And you've got a group of people that are extremely dedicated, great sense of humor, hard workers, respectful. And so when you all are we call ourselves a professional family. When you're doing something like this and you have no idea what's going to come, you have to be supportive, you have to be understanding, but you also have to be willing to throw your ideas out there because at this point, there's no stupid idea, honestly. And so I think, first and foremost, there's a very high level of respect. And my team is, like I said, they're intelligent people. They know how to fix a problem. But it's a lot of collaboration and we have to do that. And there's long days and, I think we care about each other so much and we want this to succeed. And that above all drives everything else.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you could sort of pull apart from the day-to-day of trying to make all of this click and happen in the right ways. If there's one piece of advice that you would give someone in St. Louis who's trying to bring something new to the area, what's something that you would tell them as sort of a piece of advice of how you get that done?
You have to have patience because you find out so many things that you don't know. Just for instance, I never really got involved in politics. So, navigating St. Louis City and the Board of Aldermen, who were great partners, by the way, you really don't know a lot unless this is something that you do all the time. And so don't be discouraged by it, be encouraged by it because you will meet so many people, you'll make great relationships. The Board of Aldermen has been very supportive of us. And so I would just say you have to be patient, but you will get there and it will be fantastic if it's done the right way.
Some good words there. I think we've got a ton of questions in the chat. Thank you everyone who's posting things. I'm going to try to get through some of those. The first question, we've talked about this a little bit, but can you give us any kind of hint about the team name or the colors? Sounds like you're pretty locked in, but anything you can give us?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of a hint. So we went out, I guess it was January, and it had, send us your name. So we had over 6,000 requests. So after we took keywords, we nailed it down to about 4 or 5 names. But the only hint I could give you is that it came from one of those. So if you submitted a name, that could have been chosen.
One of 600, so.
What?
You said it was one of about 600 names that were submitted?
6,000.
6,000.
Yes. I will tell you, we are not the St. Louis toasted raviolis.
Well, that one's rolled out, so you heard that here. So here's another question. Have your corporate partnership conversations focused solely on locally headquartered companies, or have you had conversations with companies that are outside of St. Louis as well? Sure.
Actually, so MLS has national partnerships. So for instance, think Audi, I guess, AB InBev is sort of, I guess, in and out. No, it's just corporations are actually very excited because MLS traditionally attracts a different age group, more millennials. And so unlike your normal, your traditional baseball, hockey, football, NBA, all that other stuff, MLS has a very different demographic. And so I think corporations, especially ones with international presence, are seeing that this will indeed, hopefully, and I believe it will, attract international talent. It will attract younger people to come move to the region. And so for us, the sales pitch, if you will, is a little bit different. But also MLS is, relatively young, 25 years. And so these conversations have evolved because, the more we learn, the more information we can pass along to them. But, the excitement and the support we're getting from the corporate community has been fantastic from day one, and it's back. We're back trying to knock on doors, and they're picking up the phones, and we're scheduling virtual meetings, of course. So we're really excited to see what comes in the next 9 months to a year.
I mean, certainly the corporate sponsorship or the corporate involvement in this is what is unique about this effort and why this effort worked, because so much of it was private money. And I wonder, because of that, if you're saying more of a, this is from the business community, this effort, we're happy to support other leaders who really need this happen. I wonder if you're seeing more engagement maybe because of the way this came together.
I mean, I think so. The answer is yes, I know so. I think going back to the uniqueness is that all three of the professional sports team in St. Louis are locally owned. And that is a very powerful statement when you think about it. When we had the lunch with the top 25 CEOs, Bill DeWitt and Tom Stillman were there. And the commissioner was like, wow, I'm not sure you see this in many cities. I think that there is a professional respect. So yes, we want to help the Taylor and Kavanaugh families, but I think also too, these corporations want their employees to be proud of them, and they want to be able to have that aha moment of, look at us, we're supporting this. And so I do think that, to answer your question, I think that probably the local ownership majority, overwhelmingly privately financed, certainly does help our case when we go approach them.
So right now, I know you're looking for folks. Of course, the big one is naming the stadium, probably jerseys, a couple of other things. Where are you at in the process? It sounds like, you're eager to take some extra time to formulate those relationships, but, how soon until we know, what the stadium might be named, who might be sponsoring it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to sit here and just probably say 6 to 9 months. I think it might be a little bit longer than that, but one of the things that we have to do is sort of reevaluate, your sales position right now when you don't have fans coming to a stadium currently. So while it's doesn't affect us directly now, we just have to make sure that we are presenting correct information when we, go and sign these deals. And so we're super excited to be able to announce that. I think we'll have time to really engage, whoever named the stadium, whoever did the kid sponsorship, X, Y, and Z, and activities throughout the next 2 years. But I think that it's just a very sensitive subject right now, and we have to make sure that we're delivering accurate information.
Yeah. To go back to a couple of other questions, can you talk about the transition from part of the ownership group to being the public face as the owner, the CEO of the club itself? Was it a big transition for you?
Yes, because I've never really thought of myself as being media face, but like everything else on this project, it just sort of happened. And so you kind of have to say, okay, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to do the best I can. Certainly I learned a lot. I'm definitely more comfortable now than I was 2 years ago, but I think it was one of those things where I didn't have time to overthink it. It just kind of happened. And I also, throughout this whole process, found myself getting more and more excited about it. And so therefore it made it easier to become the face of it, because I couldn't wait to share my passion with other people.
What do you think is the most interesting thing that you've learned about just being in the soccer business? I mean, I know you said this wasn't really something that was a part of your life before. What have you learned about it that's made you, perhaps even more interested in this job now?
I think it's the fans. I mean, the passion, the loyalty, the supporter groups. I mean, the tattoos that people get. I mean, it is incredible. And so I think I that to me is very exciting. And while yes, it's sport. These men and women run miles. I don't even think I could run a mile. But when you pull back what it's about, it's just the fans they're crazy passionate. And so that to me is fun to watch. And so I guess to be a part of a world that has that kind of loyalty. I've talked to people that are like, my team is absolutely terrible in the EPL, but I will support them because I can't imagine supporting anything else. And so I think that is what's been so exciting to learn. I mean, even though it can be kind of, cultish in a way, but even what they've done here in St. Louis, I mean, the soccer community here, the supporters of the STLFC, it is so fun to watch and so fun to learn about.
What are things that you've done to sort of learn more about that culture? Have you gone to FC games and, done certain things to try to, live and breathe that a little bit more?
Yes. So I have attended FC games. I try to watch all the different leagues on TV, something I never thought I would say, but, watching the EPL games when they had fans, Bundesliga, but even attending MLS games. I mean, the Portland Timbers have an insane supporter group. Certainly watching LAFC and really asking those questions when we did our visits, when we had games, is we would spend a lot of time with the owners or the, management saying, explain, how do you take care of your supporters? How do you make this work? And so the answer is I've done a lot because I'm truly fascinated by it. I mean, it is like the best reality TV show out there. And the nuances, each one has a separate nuance and, just how they've formed their identity is really intriguing. So I think I've, even following it on social media. So really just any way I can educate myself on it, I'm taking advantage of that.
Are there, clubs around the country that you've really drawn a lot of inspiration to, that you feel like you can take some of those lessons back to St. Louis for, this is really the way that we would like to run our club here?
We did, I think 8 site visits, attended 3 or 4 games. That's all kind of running together. Now you took something away from each one. Kansas City has an incredible sort of, they call it micro neighborhoods of how they program their seats. Portland has an amazing stadium. It's beautiful. Older that they added on to. Supporter groups were great there. LAFC is just a Taj Mahal. I mean, it's gorgeous. But to see things from how they take care of their supporter groups, how they handle premium ticketing, food and beverage options. And so the honest answer is we took away something from everyone. I will say this, MLS ownership is very supportive of us. So we also were told, don't do this. Don't make the mistakes we made, which, to me is very refreshing. And I appreciate the fact that they were that transparent with us. But it also saved us a lot of time and headache when they're like, absolutely do not do this. Or do you have, retail space times 10? And so we took away a lot. And like I said, both good and bad, like definitely do this, but don't do this. So we did appreciate all the visits with or without a game.
So we've got a question here about history. St. Louis has a rich soccer history. Can you talk about how you plan to connect the MLS team with the local youth soccer community?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've had somebody, sort of a community relations person who's definitely been out in the community and meeting with, literally north, south, east, west, you name it. One of the things though that we're really going to encourage our sporting director when he's hired is to make sure that they spend quite a bit of time really understanding just really the academy system, the youth sporting system, and just making sure that it is all inclusive, and that everybody should have opportunity. And I think that the team has come up with some really good ideas, but again, I'm not in the position, I'm not a sporting director, so my ideas may be great in my head. They may say that's a terrible idea. But it certainly is a priority of this team to make sure that people from all communities have opportunities.
Yeah, that kind of leads into another question as well. Someone is wondering, tell us about your efforts to include the Black and minority communities. What have been the upsides and what are some of the challenges there?
Yeah, we've definitely, our project management team and our general contracting partners have taken it very seriously because we take it very seriously. when you have, the Kavanaugh family from Worldwide and the Taylor family from Enterprise, certainly being inclusive is extremely important. And so definitely, when we post positions, we want to make sure that, again, everybody has an opportunity. And I think that between town halls that they've held on the construction site, unfortunately, I think now they've had to go virtual, but the point is that they wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity. And overall, that is something that this club is very much focused on. And, certainly women too. You've got a majority female owned business. You want to make sure that those opportunities are not only gender specific but race, age, you name it.
And I wonder, St. Louis and this team, as you're building out, is in the unique position of having practice fields, having, this ecosystem all around each other in this downtown West area. Are you sort of thinking about programming already to bring kids from underserved parts of the city where they might not have the opportunity to play soccer? Are you sort of thinking about programming already?
Yeah, I think when, certainly, we want to at some point leverage or use, I should say, probably not leverage, partnerships with, is it St. Louis Public Schools? Is it, the church system? To make sure that we are getting into those neighborhoods because, there's certainly an accessibility problem in certain parts, meaning is it transportation? Is it access to field? Is it access to equipment? So all of this is being thought through. It's also a great opportunity, kind of going back to a previous question, for us to reach out to other clubs as well. So could we reach out to an Atlanta United and say, hey, how are you navigating this? Can we reach out to a Sporting KC? And so, kind of when you're the little sister, I like to call it, you have a lot of big brothers that you can call and sort of help navigate that. But again, going back to our community relations director right now, he has done an amazing job and has been part of the soccer community for a very long time, really gathering all that information. And so it's a priority. I think we just need to kind of figure out the best way to start attacking, what we need to do and how we're going to do it. But we also need it to be effective. And so we don't want to throw out some program that doesn't work. But it is definitely important to us.
So it sounds like, you've got one of, just a few people on staff already go out in the communities. Are you asking them, what do they want to see from MLS? Like, what are the things that they want to see in terms of engagement?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, pre-COVID, we had a plan to have quite a few town hall meetings and focus groups to ask questions like that, exactly that. Certainly feedback on the stadium, what amenities would people like to see in the stadium? I think the plan now is to start holding them virtually because we need that input. Again, I might think something's great in my head, but a true soccer fan might say, nope, that's not it. Or a parent of a child may say, you really need to think about it this way. So our hope is to really kind of bring those back. Again, this needs to be a community effort, and community input is going to be key.
So we've got a couple of questions going back to the team name. Of course, no doubt that is something people are really excited about, but they're wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the process for choosing the name, how many people were involved in that process, and who currently right now knows what that name is.
Yeah, so like I said, so we took all of these amazing names and the suggestions, and I loved it because, I don't know this for sure, but it was like you could see like maybe there were kids who were learning about certain things in school. People were passionate. They would send me Facebook messages. It was awesome. So then we kind of nailed it down, like I said, to 4 or 5 names. And then it really became a process. And so our, Cannonball and Weber Shandwick, our local marketing and PR firms, really went to work. How do you tell a story behind a name? It can't be just a name. It has to have story. It has to be passionate. It has to, really resonate with people. And then the next step was to bring MLS corporate in, which we did. They were fascinated about the names we had because it really ended up being a tough decision. And then after that, we took it to an ownership vote. And so that's where we landed there, really. But, from there, then we kind of had to go back to, let's think about colors, let's think about crest. And again, what would represent the entire region, and what could people really, get behind and get excited for. And we think we did a really good, we think we did a good job. This entire team did a good job. We think the public will really like it. I will tell you that there's probably, I would say, very few people that know. One thing we did, so we wanted the crest to be designed by local designers. So we did hold a contest, but they all, had to sign, the proper agreement. So the purpose was to make sure that this did not leak, because we wanted to make sure that it was going to be as exciting as we think it could be.
Yeah. So we've got another attendee on this call who says he loves the passion. He loves the passion for soccer fans, but doesn't love the canned excitement that U.S. teams sometimes use over the PA system. He says he hopes this team will allow St. Louis fans to generate excitement spontaneously and minimize the electronic stadium sounds. Do you have any kind of response to that? Have you even thought about that yet?
Well, it's a great point. I'll be honest with you though, when you're watching the Cardinals game last night and it's all fake sound noise, kind of, tough question to answer. There again, this is stuff we're going to have in feedback sessions when we get closer to our first match. Because again, things that can, it could change a lot, but I think that's a great point. And certainly, we want to make sure that St. Louis is uniquely St. Louis. So I couldn't agree more about, it has to be us. It has to be St. Louis. It has to be our supporters and our team and our citizens.
So this question sort of goes back to this 1-year delay announcement. What does that do for your efforts to build support for the team? How do you maintain and build excitement over such a long time?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've sort of hit on a lot of it, so you have your name, color, crest reveal, we're going to have the name of the stadium revealed. But I think overall we can have some great events. So is it, youth soccer sports? I think a lot of it is sort of, we just have to kind of see where we are in the world. Is it going to be virtual? Are we going to have, fanfare? Are we going to have, watch parties? The answer is I don't know yet. I think we're really working on that right now because, Friday was when the announcement came out. So now we've really got to put all of those pieces together. But it is definitely a priority that we keep everybody engaged. And I think we're going to be able to do that. I'm confident that, our team is amazing. So yeah, there's more to come on that one.
So I know that in looking at some of these really beautiful plans, these architectural designs of what the stadium will look like eventually, part of that is redoing this plaza right next to the stadium that's already a park right now. I wonder if you've thought about, how to use that in this era where we're a little bit more comfortable being outside than inside, where there are more people. Have you thought about using that as an event space, or, how does that park sort of fit into what might be possible for events maybe in the early days?
Yeah, I mean, I think the park is definitely, part of the district area. The hope would be that it's incorporated in however we decide to program that. But I think that programming the park specifically, certainly an idea we can think of. But, I think right now the accessibility to the park based on the stadium perimeter will probably be the question right now, because, you've got construction going on. So I'm not even sure you can access it, quite frankly. But no, it's a great suggestion. It's something we should think about.
So, this area it's very close to, as we've talked about, the Ferris wheel and all these other things going on in this area. Has your team thought more about, how this will bring people in, maybe not only just for game nights when there is a soccer game happening or is another event, but, whether this will result in more people spending time in the downtown West neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the hope. Can you come and stay for one night or 2 nights? You have the arch. There's so many things down that corridor that the collaboration is essential for all of those businesses, because it would be nice, like I said, can you imagine like going to a soccer match and then walking down to Busch Stadium for a Cardinals match, and it's St. Louis versus Chicago. But I think being able to incorporate, packages any way you can, with just, walking down City Garden, tours, like you said, the Ferris wheel, the aquarium, the arch, there are so many wonderful things, the public library, there's so many wonderful things down there. And so I think that collectively we need to work with the CVC and, other organizations to really promote that it's not just to come into St. Louis, go to a game, it's come into St. Louis and make it an entire weekend, or make it a mini vacation, make it a staycation. There's a lot of people from St. Louis that probably have not been down there, at least myself included, in a while to enjoy all of the wonderful things that St. Louis has to offer.
Yeah, that's a good point. And right now we're seeing a lot of efforts around, building up different neighborhoods, especially in downtown. Downtown is coming up with its own plan to, bring in more people and revitalize that area. We're seeing that the city is going to release its equitable economic development framework maybe in the next couple of weeks. I wonder if you've been approached to be a part of making all of those pieces fit in, as opposed to, everyone having their own separate plan for, what's going to happen to this area of the St. Louis City.
Yes, no, we actually definitely were approached. And actually we have 2 different people on our staff working on that right now. So while I'm not personally involved, we have our community person and we have our non-game day events person that are actively involved in that program.
So we got a couple other questions. Let's see, a quick one. Will Enterprise be on the front of the jersey? Do you have any idea what the jersey will look like?
The answer is no. Actually, MLS wanted us to try to have other companies to show more of a collective regional effort and collaboration. And I am happy to report that, yes, we do have quite a bit of interest. And so we are excited that it will be somebody other than Enterprise.
Another question, what is a piece of advice that you would give hometown students hoping to enter the industry after graduation? What kind of opportunities do you think this might present for them?
Yeah, I think quite a bit. And so, like I said, we need to get some of these key hires, executive hires in, and then from there, it's my job to trust that we hired the best and that they know how to put their teams together. So I'm not sure that there'll be a lot of job openings, this calendar year, but certainly 2021, there'll be a lot of hiring. So I think it's just keep sending us your resume, keep sending us information. We're putting them all in a database. And as we start to see needs, we're definitely going back to the database. But yeah, I'm excited to get some of these executives, VP of ticketing, VP of sponsorship, and sporting director. And then we'll, hopefully from there, really build out a team. I think the big building of the team will be 2021, actually.
Do you have any advice for students? Is there any way that they could get involved or, advice for how they could see a path into MLS someday?
Yeah, I really think that it's going to have to be the same way. Just reach us out on the website or email us directly because, like I said, we're taking all of them. We're putting, sending responses, keeping them all in our database. And really, that's probably the best way to do it. Love to hear from you. So, happy to take the information. So just make sure that we get it in our hands to put in our database.
So we've got a couple questions about, what's been the most positive experience during this process so far? And maybe it's different or not, but what's the most unexpected thing that's happened?
Yeah, so I think the most positive thing is I've got to meet amazing people. And I can't stress that enough. People that I probably would have never crossed paths with, in my pre-MLS life. But I am amazed at how supportive everybody is. It could be the person checking me out at Schnucks to a CEO to a friend, and I think that is just makes my heart happy. But it's also extremely encouraging. If you're having kind of a bad day and you're like, "What in the world have I done?" To have people be that supportive and that thoughtful and call me anytime, and they mean that. You're like, "Wow, this is truly amazing." I think the most unexpected thing is how much I would actually really like the sport of soccer. I knew eventually I was going to have to get into it, but I didn't quite get the die hard. I stop everything to watch Man U, for instance. And, just the I say dramatic in a good way and the passion. And, it's been really fun. I used to be the person, I'll admit it, that was watching, Law and Order on Saturday mornings. And now I'm like, oh, what EPL game's on? What Bundesliga game's on? What's MLS game on? So that I think has sort of been that was sort of an unexpected surprise, was how much I was really going to enjoy the sport of soccer.
So you've converted, you are officially a soccer fan, not only just as the face of MLS, but you really have grown, it sounds like, a fascination for the sport.
Yeah, my mom will call it a field. I'm like, no, it's a pitch. 2 years ago, I didn't even know what a pitch was. I kept thinking we were talking about baseball, and getting the terminology. It's a club. Stuff like that is what I really didn't expect to have happen. I thought I'd get trained to do that. And now I'm like, no, Mom, it's a pitch. All right, let's get it straight here.
Yeah. So we got a time for maybe 2 more questions. One, can you talk about efforts toward reaching out to people who have never been exposed to soccer before? How do you plan to bring them into the sport?
Yeah, I mean, but I think again, this is all to be determined. How do you do that? If you can't actually hold public events, how do you go about, making sure you capture them on whether it's a phone, an iPad, Facebook, what have you. And so now that we're actually getting through the name announcement, I think this is where we can really start putting some meat on the bones as to how we are going to engage fans of all interests, of all levels, of all walks of life.
And I wonder, as someone who is learning more about soccer and becoming intrigued yourself, what's a good sell for someone that might be a big sports fan, but hasn't really explored soccer yet?
I'm going to say, because you're supporting us. I always say that if you want to support us and you're not a soccer fan, please share our posts from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like it, get your friends to like it, get your neighbors to like it, because right now that's what we need. We need to show the world that St. Louis is awesome. They're ready. We're going to dominate both on and off the field. And so I think for me right now, it's just share. If not, you're supporting your local ownership. You're supporting your friends that are going to be working for us. Hopefully we get great players you're supporting too. So I think just because so much of soccer plays out on social media, that's really the best thing anybody can do, whether you're a fan or not, is just share.
So we do know that one person on your ownership team does know a lot about soccer, does have some good soccer moves. Of course, that's Jim Kavanaugh. Someone is wondering, what is it like working with him? Has he shown you any soccer moves?
Yeah, he's also CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. So yes, very helpful as far as showing me soccer moves. I haven't graduated to that yet. I did get my cleats though, beginning of the year. So I'm sure at some point there will be some fun videos of the two of us. He kick, I attempt to kick a ball.
Well, we will look forward to that on social media. I think that's probably a good spot to wrap things up. We are going to respect your time. I know you have a lot of other things to get to today. You've got 2 major jobs going on, so we'll let everyone else get back to work too. Special thank you, Carolyn. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience about bringing this team to St. Louis. It's been really great speaking with you.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
And thank you everyone else for attending today's program. We've got a ton of other fun virtual events coming up in the next week. Next Thursday, we'll host our first Mini Jays Bowl pop-up session. We'll be discussing press briefings with NPR White House reporter Aisha Roscoe and our own State House and politics reporter Jacqueline Driscoll. And if you're a movie fan, next Friday, be sure to catch our virtual Best of Shorts. You can find all of those details, registration, on our website at stlpublicradio.org/events. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.